Dryland farming is an agricultural technique for non-irrigated cultivation of drylands. Locations. Dryland farming is used in the Great Plains, the Palos Plateau of eastern Washington, and other arid regions of North America such as in the southwestern United States and Mexico, the Middle East and in other grain-growing regions such as the steppes of Eurasia and Argentina. Dryland farming was introduced to southern Russia and Ukraine by Russian Mennonites under the influence of Johann Cornys, making the region the breadbasket of Russia. In Australia, it is widely practiced in all states but the Northern Territory. Crops. Winter wheat is the typical crop, although skilled dryland farmers sometimes grow corn, beans or even watermelons. Successful dryland farming is possible with as little as 9 inches of precipitation a year. Higher rainfall increases the variety of crops. Native American tribes in the arid Southwest survived for hundreds of years on dryland farming in areas with less than 10 inches of rain. The choice of crop is influenced by the timing of the predominant rainfall in relation to the seasons. For example, winter wheat is more suited to regions with higher winter rainfall while areas with summer wet seasons may be more suited to summer growing crops such as sorghum, sunflowers or cotton. Process. Dryland farming has evolved as a set of techniques and management practices used by farmers to continually adapt to the presence or lack of moisture in a given crop cycle. In marginal regions, a farmer should be financially able to survive occasional crop failures, perhaps for several years in succession. Survival as a dryland farmer requires careful husbandry of the moisture available for the crop and aggressive management of expenses to minimize losses in poor years. Dryland farming involves the constant assessing of the amount of moisture present or lacking for any given crop cycle and planning accordingly. Dryland farmers know that to financially succeed they have to be aggressive during the good years in order to offset the bad years. System. Dryland farming is uniquely dependent on natural rainfall, which can leave the ground vulnerable to dust storms, particularly if poor farming techniques are used or if the storms strike at a particularly vulnerable time. The fact that a fallow period must be included in the crop rotation means that fields cannot always be protected by a cover crop, which might otherwise offer protection against erosion. Key elements: capturing and conservation of moisture. In regions such as eastern Washington state, the average annual precipitation available to a dryland farm may be as little as 8.5 inches. Consequently, moisture must be captured until the crop can utilize it. Techniques include summer fallow rotation, and preventing runoff by terracing fields. Terracing is also practiced by farmers on a smaller scale by laying out the direction of furrows to slow water runoff downhill, usually by plowing along either contours or keylines. Moisture can be conserved by eliminating weeds and leaving crop residue to shade the soil. Effective use of available moisture. Once moisture is available for the crop to use, it must be used as effectively as possible. Seed planting depth and timing are carefully considered to place the seed at a depth at which sufficient moisture exists, or where it will exist when seasonal precipitation falls. Farmers tend to use crop varieties which are drought and heat stress tolerant. Thus the likelihood of a successful crop is hedged if seasonal precipitation fails. Soil conservation. The nature of dryland farming makes it particularly susceptible to erosion, especially wind erosion. Some techniques for conserving soil moisture are at odds with techniques for conserving topsoil. Since healthy topsoil is critical to sustainable dryland agriculture, its preservation is generally considered the most important long-term goal of a dryland farming operation. Erosion control techniques such as windbreaks, reduced tillage or no-till, spreading straw, and strip farming are used to minimize topsoil loss. Control of input costs. Dryland farming is practiced in regions inherently marginal for non-irrigated agriculture. Because of this, there is an increased risk of crop failure and poor yields which may occur in a dry year. Dryland farmers must evaluate the potential yield of a crop constantly throughout the growing season and be prepared to decrease inputs to the crop such as fertilizer and weed control if it appears that it is likely to have a poor yield due to insufficient moisture. Conversely, in years when moisture is abundant, farmers may increase their input efforts and budget to maximize yields and to offset poor harvests. See also International Center for Agricultural Research in the Dry Areas, Irrigation, Seawater Greenhouse, Sustainable Agriculture, Xeriscaping, Notes, Smith, C. Henry. Smith Story of the Mennonites. Revised and expanded by Cornelius Crane. Newton, Kansas, Faith and Life Press ppA 263-265. ISBN A0-87303-069-9. Malcolm, Bill. Sale, Peter. Egan, Adrian. Agriculture in Australia, An Introduction. Australia, Oxford University Press. ISBN A0-19-553695-9. De Storman Eastern Washington. Image of the Dayart Observatory.nasa.gov. Retrieved October 10, 2009. Further reading, Henry Gilbert, Dryland Farming, January 1982 – December 1990. Mary W. M. Hargraves, Dry Farming in the Northern Great Plains, Years of Readjustment, 1920 to 1990. Oklahoma State Board of Agriculture, Report. Dr. John A. Whitsoe, Ph.D. Dry Farming, A System of Agriculture for Countries Under a Low Rainfall, Victor Squires and Philip Toe, Dryland Farming, A Systems Approach, An Analysis of Dryland Agriculture in Australia. External links, media related to dryland farming at Wikimedia Commons, Encyclopedia of Oklahoma History and Culture, Dry Farming, 4th International Crop Science Congress September 2004, Crop Science Society of America P. Kuf Khan and B. A. Stewart, Water and Cereals and Drylands published by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and EarthScan, Water and Cereals and Drylands.